Joining us is Roger Stone. Roger, I'm glad you could come on such short notice. You're already scheduled to be on coming up in about an hour because obviously you've been an amazing source on Scaramucci. Other sources told me the same thing, that if the realignment did happen and that we brought in Bannon-type patriots, that we would see Scaramucci put in as communications director. Separately, we also know that there's been a full-on push to remove Scaramucci, but they failed. From my intel, which you're just obviously part of, but I've got it from other sources as well, this shows a major realignment's about to happen. Just like day 70, he kind of turned towards the establishment, trying to work with them because they lied to him and said they would. He wanted to compromise just to get stuff done because he's so worried about the economy stalling. As he said, they screwed him. 30 days later, he turned back towards populism hardcore with a serious jerk to the right, in their view. And now I think this is going to signify he's going into full war mode with them, with the Mueller fishing expedition. He's not going to wait till they kill the economy and then try to bring him down. He's going to try to rally the people and absolutely go into full war mode, which is the only way to be victorious. Is that an accurate analysis, Roger Stone?
Alex, I think that's a pretty good assessment of the situation. First of all, the appointment of Anthony Scaramucci, who is a very capable guy, a true patriot, and a Trump loyalist. His loyalty is not to the Republican Party, it's to Trump and the Trump agenda, has long been resisted by Reince Priebus, Sean Spicer, and the establishment mandarins within the Trump White House. I think this shift is really a manifestation of the extremely poor handling of the Donald Trump Jr. saga, which the White House allowed to drip drop out over almost a 10-day period, as opposed to releasing it all the Friday before our last holiday, which they were urged to do, and at least they rejected.
And again, any moron at a college-level journalism course knows you bury something on a Friday evening, you dump it all. So that was deliberate them. And now Spicer, proving his true colors, is in the New York Times saying how horrible Scaramucci is and that's why he left. So he is not just leaving, he's stabbing the president in the back, which reportedly he's been doing behind the scenes the entire time.
Extraordinarily disloyal. Of course, we have to remember he was never for Donald Trump for president anyway. This is the same Sean Spicer who said back in September of last year that if Trump didn't get his poll numbers up, the Republican National Committee should suspend its financial support of his candidacy. Unheard of. Just unheard of. Completely ignores the fact that the Republican National Committee exists at the pleasure of the nominee and certainly of the president. Just shows that they think that they are a fiefdom and an establishment organization unto themselves.
Does this signify, though, that with Mueller's biggest fishing expedition in history, 98% plus, it's like 98.6% of the donations, the law firm of Mueller to the Democrats, to Hillary, to Bill, expanding it to all his associates, the whole campaign, all financials. No one's perfect according to federal law. They could indict a ham sandwich, as the FBI director famously said. How far is this going to go? To me, this signifies Trump's battening down the hatches, which is good, and it also signifies that Spicer's evacuating because he thinks that he's siding with the deep state.
I think you have to read between the lines on the president's terrific interview with the New York Times conducted by Maggie Haberman, where he correctly, I think, expressed a lack of confidence in Jeff Sessions. I mean, we have now a FISA court decision proving that the Obama administration illegally surveilled, spied on, and charted the phone calls and other communications of tens of thousands of Americans and that illegally unmasked them, all for political purposes. Yet Obama has not been arrested. Susan Rice has not been arrested. James Clapper has not been arrested.
And you've got Hillary with all the illegal servers, all the uranium, all the Chinese-Russian deals, and they're completely dirty, caught red-handed, and they point at Trump, who's done nothing wrong but tried to find dirt on Hillary and say, remove him. You're right, he's got to move against him. Here is the president, surreptitiously, again, I guess recorded by the New York Times, but here it is.
Sessions gets the job. Right after he gets the job, he recuses himself.
Was that a mistake?
Well, Sessions should have never recused himself. And if he was going to recuse himself, he should have told me before he took the job, and I would have picked somebody else.
He gave you no heads up at all in any sense?
Zero.
Okay.
So Jeff Sessions takes the job, gets into the job, recuses himself. I then have, which frankly, I think is very unfair to the president. How do you take a job and then recuse yourself? If he would have recused himself before the job, I would have said, thanks, Jeff, but I can't, I'm not going to take you. It's extremely unfair, and that's a mild word, to the president. So he recuses himself.
Now, let's be specific. This is one of the most important things I've ever said, so please listen carefully, listeners. This country's gotten run into a ditch by people covering their butts, CYA. We're going into entropy. We're going into collapse. And I like Sessions. He's been an honorable man. He killed open borders and globalism 4 times in the Senate when they were trying to pass bills secretly. I like Sessions, but judges don't recuse themselves unless they've got a conflict. He doesn't have a conflict. He never did anything. He got bullied and intimidated in CYA. And if the Republican Party keeps doing their old CYA, the Democrats are going to overthrow the entire system and bring in martial law, as is in the New York Post and the Atlantic Monthly. They admit they know they've lost the mind of the people. They admit they've committed all these crimes. They're going for broke. They're cornered rats. You can give them no quarter. Roger, I'm ranting. Recap about Scaramucci. Recap what this really signifies with Spicer. Recap why you think it's good that he's exposing what's happening with Sessions. And I totally agree. He's got to go all out now while he's still got the people behind him, or they're going to bring not just him down, but this country. This is America on death watch, with the Democratic Party allied with Orthodox radical Islam, anti-God, anti-Christian, anti-family. They mean to finish us. We must now finish them. Stone.
Alex, I think it's very important people understand the ramifications of what we're talking about. When Jeff Sessions recused himself on the question of Russia, that empowered the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, and turned around and appointed one of his best friends, Robert Mueller, to investigate the president. Rosenstein has worked for the Bushes and the Clintons. Why he's even in the Trump Justice Department is a question of some know. Wall Street Journal hailed his appointment, saying that he would be a leavening influence on the right-wing Jeff Sessions. Give you some idea where this guy's coming from. He, based on his own authority, directed by no one, appointed Mueller as a special counsel. In other words, as the executioner. Now, normally, special counsels are appointed when there is an enormous wealth of evidence that a crime has been committed.
AKA the Clintons.
In this case, there is none. And also when the Justice Department has some egregious conflict. Jeff Sessions met twice with the ambassador to the Soviet Union, and you couldn't even call them meetings. He met him, he passed by him in a reception, and they exchanged words.
And that's what senators do.
Particularly senators who are members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. It's part of their job.
Pelosi met 30-something times.
So in this particular case, the reason we have Mueller, the reason we have the sword of Damocles hanging over the president's head and this leftist plot to remove him despite an absence of evidence is because Jeff Sessions recused himself. Simply that. We would not be where we are today were that not the case. What the president must do now is to fire Rosenstein and fire Mueller. And then if they want to try to impeach him, take all comers. On the basis of what? Mueller's coaching of Comey just prior to his testimony, there's the reason for his firing.
Absolutely. And the president...
that there's no partiality.
And the president has the trifecta now. He's got to move against these criminals now. Let's play a clip from Newt Gingrich laying it out. Here it is.
The Mueller investigation has so many conflicts of interest. It's almost an absurdity. The law firm he comes from gave 99.81% of its donations to Hillary Clinton last year. That's right. 0.19 of 1% went to Donald Trump. The people that he's been hiring are all anti-Trump lawyers. Several of them have very bad records of hiding information from the defense. and one case was rebuked by the Supreme Court on a 9-0 vote. It's hard to understand why he would assemble such a team unless it was a deliberate effort to go after the president and the president's team. I think that
this is the most biased lynch mob of executioners ever assembled in modern history. Even real Democrat liberals like Dershowitz and Jonathan Turley are saying this is insane. The president should fire all these people. This is a rogue group, and the media is acting like Mueller's the new president and that he's Jesus Christ come down from heaven.
Yeah, it's really extraordinary. If you go to my page, The Stone Cold Truth, I wrote a piece about a week ago called The Three Amigos. It's important to understand the extent to which Rosenstein, Comey, and Mueller are best friends. They have aided each other's career. They have covered for each other. And they have all been executioners for the Bushes and the Clintons. These guys work for the deep state.
We're going to post your article at Infowars.com. Roger Stone, stay there. I want to talk about what Trump needs to do now. This is a big deal. 5 more minutes on the other side than all the other news. Stay with us. Roger Stone's coming up again later via video Skype. I'm Alex Jones.